Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Ask Jameen. I'm Nicci Willis and
I'm Jameen.
And today's question that we are going to answer: can Biden's plan really save us from a recession? Good question. All right, here we go. So before we get started, I want to remind you to make sure that you subscribe. We are growing our community. So if you already have subscribed, thank you so much. Make sure you like and make sure you share this and remind everybody to subscribe. And if you haven't, go ahead and hit that button right there below so that you're notified every time we upload new content. Okay, are we ready?
Ready.
Biden's got a plan. The Biden administration has a plan, okay? All roads are screaming that we're headed towards a recession. We're headed into a bear market. So we want to talk about if this plan can actually save us from a recession, all right? Now, let's talk about first, what is Biden's plan? And then let's just kind of break it down and talk about each piece.
So the first thing I want to talk about is we're going to talk about Biden's plan to save us from a recession. The first thing I want to point out is it hasn't been implemented yet.
Yeah, it's just a plan.
So the problem that me personally I have is you wait until the recession or whatever happens to roll out the plan.
Yeah.
So it's not, instead of preventative maintenance, it's like a reaction. It's like a reaction.
Reactive, yeah.
Anyways, go ahead. All right.
No, I get it though. And you know what's coming up though. What's coming up are midterm elections. So I kind of feel like things are being held off for
so
other reasons.
No matter what happened,
because
it wasn't going to roll out until November.
Exactly. You darn if you do, darn if you don't. If you try to do that before, midterms and, people's seats are up and all that stuff. So I also think that that has a factor as to why it may be taking a little bit longer. But yeah, I mean,
that's true.
Geez, I feel like that's us, the U.S. a lot. We're always kind of reacting in situations. Now listen, I am not in politics, nor do I want to be in politics. These are just observations, but let's talk about it in terms of, real estate, housing, and just the recession as a whole. So let's go over each component of the plan. Okay.
Tell them what the plan is, though. Just broad scale the plan. Okay.
So here's the first component of what the plan includes. Okay. So President Biden wants to reward jurisdictions that have reformed zoning and land use policies. So this includes grants, tax credits, incentives for mostly developers and land acquisition companies.
Yeah, so what that means is I always compare where we came from and where we're at.
Sure.
So here in not Las Vegas, but the state of Nevada. So if you look at the state of Nevada, it's still majority government owned.
Yeah.
So as much as you look around and say, oh, Las Vegas is not landlocked at all, the government still owns the majority of the state.
Correct.
So if they wanted to, or they felt a need or an emergency, they could actually open up more land. There's actually a land bank, and they can open up more land available for development. So that could potentially create a supply-demand issue, but basically the Biden administration says, okay, we'll give a certain amount of money if you open up this land or you change the zoning from, rural or agricultural to even mixed use or residential, some kind of way. So, federal money gets passed down to states.
Yeah.
So that's the thing too. So people think of the welfare of a particular state like Nevada. On a smaller scale, there's organizations that are government-backed or government-owned, like in Ohio. One of the organizations that I worked with in Ohio, they had a land bank, but it was houses that had been land for housing that had been demolished, or blighted areas and things like that. So it's owned by the city. So there's lots or houses that's been owned by the city, and so they're going to provide incentives for them to ramp up things like that, because they have a land bank, and they kind of like, it's just like that. It's like a bank, and then they open it up to more, but they have to be ready. So they may not be ready because they don't have the backing or the financial numbers. So the first thing is President Biden is saying he's going to assist with the backing of these type of organizations.
Yeah. But again, this is like for developers. This is for like large companies and land acquisition companies. Now the second one, second component, is that he's going to deploy new financing mechanisms to build and preserve more housing where financing gaps currently exist. So, manufactured homes, I'm just going to put a pin in that. Manufactured homes, ADUs, which is an accessory dwelling unit. We'll talk about that. And then smaller multifamily buildings. So let's break all those down.
Now, this part I'm actually very excited about, because a new sector that we just got into was manufactured housing. And I have the beginning stages of a plan to do my, I don't want to call it my small part, but my part to contributing to the help of available housing. So basically, the part that I was interested in is there's a large percentage of manufactured houses that are older. So anything built prior to 1976, you can't get financing, regular financing like FHA, VA, conventional loans. You have to get a like mobile home finance. It's almost like a personal loan. So what they call shadow, or some people say chattel financing, is they're going to come out with more programs to where you can get this mobile home financing. So if it's not real property, basically real property means it's anchored to the land. You can't just easily pick up and move it. So they're saying they're going to provide financing for basically things that aren't real property. So basically a lot of people buy mobile homes and then they rent the land. So if you have really tight guidelines of getting financing for mobile homes, it makes it harder to get. So it's not a solution for, oh, well, instead of buying a single family house, I'll buy a mobile home. But if you can't qualify to get one, it's not a solution for you. So I will be interested in getting the details. I haven't seen the details yet on what exactly the financing is going to be. But basically, I was going to petition the city of Las Vegas, the city of Henderson, and say, hey, if we come up with a partnership to where I give you a plan, say, hey, these properties that are built before 1976, and I totally remodel these houses and make them updated in the same standard or better than something new or something that was built after 1976, it provides more housing for people to buy, and it's more at a more affordable price range than the average price that's going on right now.
So are you looking for like a spot variance, or
it's really not a spot variance. It's changing changing the building code, because basically you could buy a single family home that was built in 1940, but you can't buy a manufactured house that was manufactured in 1940. But if it's totally updated, what's the difference? Right. You know what I mean? So that would be my argument. So my thing is just changing the approval of the law of making it real property. So I'm not looking for alternative financing could be a solution, but the larger solution is make it financeable for conventional FHA, VA. That way we don't have to create a whole new type of lending, which That's what the Biden administration said.
They create a whole new type of lending.
Yeah. Instead
of just like using the ones that we have and making it.
And so ADUs, I don't know if people know who Tony Hsieh. Tony Hsieh is kind of big because he helped reshape the city of Las Vegas, but he recently passed.
Yeah. He's the owner of CEO of Zappos.
Yeah, Zappos. So he lived in ADU, what you call
accessory dwelling unit.
Yes, ADU. But no, what's the
next generation?
No, Clear Stream. Yeah, remember the little, it's like a silver bullet. It looks like a silver bullet. Like your RV, it's like an RV, but it's like a silver bullet.
Oh, okay. Airstream, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you lived in one of those?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Really?
So that's like communities that people live in Airstream.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I need a little bit more leg room. I mean, I can do this like vacation. But you lived there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that was ADUs, tiny homes, manufactured housing.
Yeah. But the next gen house is ADUs too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lennar's doing a lot of those next gen homes. Several other builders are doing that as well. So it's going to be interesting to see because, I mean, now you can, purchase a single family home or a single family lot. And essentially you got 2 units on there. So we're going to start seeing a lot of that.
Yeah. Yep.
A lot of that. So
that's
again, smaller multifamily buildings. So if you didn't know, as far as residential, you can, most people only think of single family, but it could be 1 unit all the way up to 4 units, and that can still be considered residential.
Yep.
So third component, they're going to expand and improve existing forms of federal financing. So more geared towards development of multifamily rental properties with tax credits for the investors or the owners. So again, just, on that owning side or the investing side, they're going to be people are going to be able to take advantage of tax credits and things like that.
Yeah, so it's not just the owners or the developers. So 100% it benefits developers because let's say I say, well, instead of going to flip 4 houses, I can build a 20-unit apartment complex.
Oh, yeah.
And so if I build a 20-unit apartment complex, the government will give me a tax incentive to where I don't pay taxes, and it'll be a tax credit. So the people who live there will only pay a certain percentage of the rent, so they won't pay market rent, and basically the government provides the difference.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
for low income.
Yeah.
For
so
low
it's kind of like guaranteed rent for the developer, which they'll get more money than they would if they just built something market rate.
Yeah.
It's backed by the government, but it also provides housing for people who need a tax credit community, somebody who needs government assistance and wants or needs something that's below market rate.
Yeah, so and Nevada is dry.
Yeah, it's a huge need. Now that I would say that would be a huge need here because just living in more than one city and having knowledge of other cities, Nevada, well, I'll just say Las Vegas, the Valley area, the low income Section 8 tax credit is just super low. Like the supply is almost like non-existent. Like we don't do that here and we don't want to, but people have that need. Absolutely. It's a huge need, but it's going to be interesting. People kind of turn their nose at it and shun it. But when you have a property sitting vacant, all of a sudden it's something that you want to consider. So it's like, well, Mike Jones back then they didn't want it.
Now I'm hot. Y'all on me.
So if the market kind of changes a little bit and properties sit on the market for rent or for sale, a lot of people will say, well, shoot, maybe I will consider this guaranteed rent from tax credit or Section 8 or things like that. So that will be interesting to see in the near future. The only thing is our demand is so high. I mean, just so much is going on here and being built and going on. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah.
Okay, so the fourth component is that they will ensure that more government-owned supply of homes and other housing goes to owners who will live in them. So this is more HUD or bank-owned foreclosures.
Yeah.
Like instead of corporations or investors purchasing them, actually giving that opportunity to owners who will occupy the property.
Yeah, so I think that this will only be successful. This is a great potential also, but it's only successful if you increase the knowledge and the amount of people that are willing and knowledgeable themselves to help people. So what am I talking about?
Okay.
So like, I haven't talked about it in a while, but I talked about this a lot in previous podcasts. So when I bought my first property, I did what's called a 203K loan. A lot of people don't know what a 203K loan is because they don't need to do them or they don't want to do them. So basically it's buying a property that needs work, but it's an FHA loan. So it's 3% down, 3.5% down. So it's low down payment, but you can buy something below market rate and they give you money to buy it and they give you money to fix up.
Right.
So that program would benefit this part of Biden's plan. So basically any loan that was foreclosed on that was backed by the government. So if it had an FHA loan or a VA loan, it turns into what we call HUD property.
Yeah.
So that's something that was backed by the government. So the government specifies that it has to stay on the market for a certain period of days before a non-owner occupant person can put an offer on it or buy it. So I haven't got all the details yet, but I'm assuming that he's just going to increase the amount of days.
Okay.
So certain places, like if you go on the HUD website and you see a foreclosure on it, it'll say only owner occupant people can bid on it for the first 12 days.
Yep.
Well, he may make it 30.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, a first-time home buyer, I don't want to say they barely have enough money to buy the house, but they are focused on the down payment, inspection, and things like that.
Yeah.
So they may not have the money to fix it up. So that HUD house that's below market rate isn't always an option for them because they don't have the money to fix it up.
Yeah.
So yes, it's below market, but you still need to be fixed up. So they want something that's already done.
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you can have a 203K or some type of program to where they can get the money to fix it up, it becomes another viable option.
Definitely
for sure. So that I would say this part would only work with letting people know that there are programs available.
Types of financing, more creative types of financing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good stuff. Ooh. Okay. Last component that we're just gonna touch on here is he's gonna be working with the private sector to address supply chain challenges and improve building techniques to finish construction in 2022 on the most new homes in any year since 2006.
Okay, so this is the one right here. I'm going to do a little more digging.
Okay.
This sounds the most like cap. How? I just don't know how he's going to say, oh, we're going to make this the end of the year. We're going to finish the most homes since 2006, and it's already 2022. How? If it's not already in place, how? Are you going to make lumber free or extremely discounted? I don't know how. So that sounds
He's saying, I'm going to reach into the supply chain.
Yeah, it seems hard to deliver on that.
Stir it up.
Yeah, I don't know.
And push the fast forward button.
Unless that's already in place and I and a lot of other people don't know about it. It's super high level, ambitious. Over my head, over my pay grade. I don't know how that's going to happen, and that seems like a far-fetched, that's reaching.
Yeah, well, honestly, I think it's more redundant than anything, and I just kind of, like you said, it's more capped. But I think it's more redundant because interest rates are still rising. We know that the market is cooling off. No, there's not going to be a crash, so do not at me today. But the market is cooling off, and so it's giving developers and builders and the supply chain time to catch up on what's already been, you know, what's been in the works.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a natural progression of what's going to happen, being that things are kind of cooling off. I mean, we spoke to one person about their building project, and you know, what was once, you know, an up to 12 to 18 month new build is now like actually being finished in about 8 to 10 months.
Right.
So I mean, things are actually catching up. I just feel like, you know how sometimes, you know, something just happens as a natural progression or a natural cause of what's been going on, and so you kind of just put your name on it and say, you know, you helped out with that. I feel like that's kind of what that is.
Yeah, the only thing I can say is builders still have housing crash 2008, 2009 PTSD. So the overbuilding, they're not overbuilding anymore. So you can put as much pressure as you want to them. I don't see builders overbuilding again like they did in 2008, because builders were like, okay, this is great, we can keep building these houses. They overbuilt. Yeah. And just like, you know, we talked about before, when we first moved here, we saw framework after framework, just
about 5 houses. It was
so it was an oversupply that didn't meet the demand. And I don't think that builders still have that PTSD. They still have that in the back of their head. I don't see them overbuilding again like they did before.
I mean, they're basically saying you gonna wait. If you want it, you're gonna wait.
Yeah.
Period. So now, but I'm just saying though, I think that wait list that we saw with hundreds of names on it is gonna, you know, we're gonna be able to see people get their orders, get their So it's a little, again, it's cooling off. It's kind of adjusting all the things, and I think that's just one of the things where I didn't want to just toss no name.
Yeah, so that last one, I think that's the biggest house way out of his plan.
Well, you know,
this
is the plan.
It's house way.
This is the plan.
The moral of the story is, can Biden's plan save us from recession? Probably not. But it does benefit. The good thing is it benefits a developer or, you know, an investor. Yeah. And it also benefits low income housing. The problem it has is the bread and butter of America, the marketplace. It's the middle class part that it doesn't benefit the most. You know, manufactured housing or Airstream is great, but if you got a family of 6, you're not piling up into no tiny home or Airstream. Yeah. You know, so the problem, if I would say, what's the issue with this is it doesn't hit the bread and butter or the middle class population. Yeah. And those are the people that are looking for some type of, you know, help or assistance a lot. So if you are, you know, if you're looking for this great thing that's going to save us, not save us, but help us a lot, I don't really see that. It's high level and really low level. That's the only thing I can say in analyzing this plan. It's really, it benefits high level and it benefits low level. Right in that middle, kind of missed in the middle part.
Yeah, so I feel you on that. That's a good analysis.
Yeah,
that's a good analysis. All right, y'all. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us. We hope that we helped kind of make it a little bit more clear for you, and we're going to keep following this, so we might have a part 2 or part 3 or whatever in certain pieces. If you want to, you know, talk about ADUs some more or multifamilies, go ahead and put it in the comments below. We want to make sure that we are talking about, you know, what you guys are interested in. And again, make sure you subscribe so that you are notified every time we upload new content. And thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next time.